Restrictions, essentially returning us to a position similar to the lockdown of last March, will be in place for the whole of January. We will keep them closely under review. However, I can't at this stage rule out having to keep them in place longer, nor rule out making further changes. Nothing about the current situation is easy. The first measure is that our fundamental advice for everyone is to stay at home. That is the single best way of staying safe. We consider that this stay-at-home message and advice is now so important that from tomorrow it will become law, just as it was in the lockdown last year. This means it will only be permissible to leave home for an essential purpose. This will include, for example, caring responsibilities, essential shopping, exercise and being part of an extended household. In addition, anyone who is able to work from home must do so. It will only be a reasonable excuse to leave your home to go to work if that work cannot be done from home. We are asking people and businesses to take this really seriously, just as seriously as we all did in March during the first lockdown, because the situation now is at least as serious as it was then. The law already requires many businesses in certain sectors to close in level 4. We now need every business to look again at their operations and to make sure that every single function that can be done by people working at home is being done in that way. Businesses have already shown a tremendous capacity to adapt during this pandemic, and I'm very grateful to them for that. But we need them to consider their operations again as we all work together to reduce transmissions. The Economy Secretary will be speaking to business organisations about this, including later this afternoon, and we will engage with trade unions on these issues too, and we will continue to consider if more regulatory action is required. We are also providing today new guidance to people who are in the shielding category. If you were shielding and you cannot work from home, our clear advice now is that you should not go into work at all.
You know, as the months have rolled on, I am now of the opinion that this whole coronavirus, quote unquote, which one, you know, COVID even, it's all a load of bollocks. It's absolute bollocks at this point. But the way that the media go on about it, the way that the politicians go on about it at this point, they've doubled down. You know, as I've said before, you could essentially forgive them for maybe assuming at the beginning that there was potentially a deadly virus out there with all their little models that showcased that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people would die, etc. That never transpired. That should have been where they turned around and said, oh wait, we were wrong. But we fast forward 9 months, 10 months later, almost, to a point where we're still talking about it as if it's as deadly as as they were saying at the beginning. And not only that, we're now talking about some new strain. Conveniently timed, of course, to come out with their rust-through vaccination program. You know, a vaccine appears out of fucking nowhere in what, a couple of months of creation, and they're shoving that out now and trying to best it up as best they can in regards to the media. And just at the same time, they're not. It's just repeating the same process all over again. 3 weeks, 4 weeks to flatten a curve transpired, or it transpired even, to months of fucking lockdown. And then the likes of Nicola Sturgeon had the audacity during the summer months to come out when the quote-unquote virus was on the decline, that it was due to their rules that it decreased. But what did she do during the summer? She made face masks mandatory. You know, it's just never ending. And then as the summer months came to a close, and the virus, quote unquote, started to rise again, or should I say the cases started to rise again, same shit happens. 3 weeks to flatten a curve. It's almost been a year to the date that we're still doing this. It just begs belief. So we're back in lockdown as of midnight tonight, you know. Not straight away, oh no, tomorrow night. Or tomorrow. Mainland Scotland is to go into lockdown from midnight tonight with new legal requirement forbidding anyone from leaving their home except for essential purposes. Now, what is deemed essential? Well, Nicola Sturgeon and her cronies deem what is and what is not essential. It goes back to what's essential and what's not when you go into the shops to buy items. You know, paint is not essential. Clothes are not essential. Oh, no. But bananas and bread are, you know. Anything that somebody needs for that individual is essential. But they make the rules and you follow them. That's how it goes. The same way we could talk about the bubbles situation, where they were constantly talking about bubbles. You can form bubbles. Now, but you weren't allowed to travel. You know, so you could form a bubble within another household, but you couldn't drive somewhere down the road or up the road even and form a bubble with a household down there. Oh, no, because you're forming your own bubble. You're taking your own initiative. You can't do that. If you follow the rules that Nicola Thinlips and Clive the Coronavirus have conjured up for you, everything will be fine. If you create your own bubbles or you follow your own rules that are somewhat similar to the rules that Nicola Thinlips and Clive the Coronavirus have conjured up for you, then that's not acceptable, because it's about behavioural change, it's about compliance, quote unquote, and it's about control, and fuck all to do with suppressing some bogus virus. Amongst the limited reasonable excuses to leave your home, your limited reasonable excuses to leave your home, you know, I love this because I was reading through this earlier. And we come down here. Examples of reasonable excuses to go out. You know? Reasonable excuses, you know, because the virus knows this, you know. If you go out for something that's not deemed essential, you might catch Clive the Coronavirus. But if you go out for a reason, and it's okay because Nicola Sturgeon has said to you that, oh, that's fine, that's a reasonable excuse, you'll be fine. Because that is where we're at now. Nicola Sturgeon is on the verge of telling you what you can and cannot have on your fucking dinner plate. Or she will if she has her way with her climate change shit. You'll be eating bugs. But anyway... For work or an activity associated with seeking employment, or to provide voluntary charitable services, but only where that cannot be done from your home. Education, including school, colleges, university, or other essential purposes connected with a course of study. You know? So, you can't... you can go out... You can't go out to the garage to wash your car, but you can go to school, you know? That's fucking mental, isn't it? For essential shopping, because it has to be essential, you know. If Nicola Sturgeon has deemed it essential, you will be fine. That's how this works here in Rainbow Unicorn Land. It has to be essential. Don't you be going out for something that's not essential, because if you do, if you go out and you go out to buy something that you shouldn't be buying, if you go out in the wander when you shouldn't be going out in the wander, if it's not deemed essential, whoa, you can't be doing that, man. We gotta suppress the virus. You should use online shopping, of course, because they want their digitization, don't they? So, one of the reasonable excuses is to obtain or deposit money where it's not possible to do so from home. But the virus knows this, you know. You need to go deposit some money. That's fine. Clive knows. For healthcare, including COVID-19 testing, vaccination. Oh, of course. Yeah. Including COVID-19. So, yeah. Where are you going, mate? I'm going to buy some paint. Oh, you might get the virus. Where are you going, mate? Oh, I'm going to go and get tested. You won't catch it. You'll be fine. For childcare support services for parents or expected parents. Oh. Well, isn't that nice? For essential services, including services of a charitable or voluntary nature, such as food banks, alcohol, or drug support services. Well, I'm glad that we have a compassionate strain of Clive the Coronavirus. You know, he can be compassionate. You know, he will get you if you breach the rules. You know, if you go out for more than an hour a day to exercise, he might catch you then. You know, if you don't wear your face mask and you're not exempt, you might catch you then. I love how he leaves out interpreters, etc. But he will go for you if you are able-bodied and there's nothing wrong with you and you don't wear your mask. You might get it. But if you want to go out and you want to go and work at a food bank, you know, voluntary at a food bank, you'll be fine. Okay. I don't see what the difference between that is and something that would not be deemed essential, but, you know, that's just me. Maybe I'm low IQ. To access public services where it's not possible to do so, such as social care services, accessing daycare centres, services provided by the Department for Work and Pensions, or the DWP then, services provided to victims, including victims of crime, asylum and immigration services and interviews. Of course, they'd be included in that. Oh, fucking course they would. Oh, yeah. Because they're allowed to, you know, travel rules and all that stuff in place. But Abdul and Tyrone, they get to come over in their wee dinghy and they get to do all they need to do in terms of the asylum process. You know, shoved into swanky hotels, etc. They just come over. In fact, they don't even get tested. This is not funny. As far as I'm aware, to my knowledge, they're still not even being fucking tested for a deadly virus. Borders still wide open, but, you know, just me. To provide care assistance, support, or respite for a vulnerable person. To receive emergency assistance. To participate in or facilitate shared parenting. To visit a person in an extended household. To meet a legal obligation, including satisfying bail conditions. Because the virus knows this. The virus knows. You know, if you're a criminal and you need to do things for your bail conditions, don't worry about it. Clive knows. For essential animal welfare reasons, such as exercising or feeding a horse, or to go to the vet. Oh, what a fantastic, compassionate response there. Such as exercising or feeding a horse, or going to the vet, you know. Because Clive knows this. You're just going out to feed a horse, you know. I love how they're nitpicking now. Like, no, I mean, I know there'd be other examples like going out to walk your dog, etc. But I'm just saying they are going into such in-depth detail. They are dictating every fucking aspect of your life. And people in this country, I mean, this goes across the pond, you know, or across the board even, to the whole of the UK or wherever this shit's happening. But this is a message to Scottish people, honestly. For these people that think that this thin-lipped boot, this bitch, fucking cares about Scotland, the Scottish people, you know, she's just saving lives. Think about what you are accepting willingly. You are being dictated to. Every fraction of your life has been dictated to you. Whether it's your bedtime, that'll be next, you know. What time you have, you can't go to the pub, you know. Who you can and cannot see. Where you can and cannot go. What you can and cannot do. They deem what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do in your everyday life. They deem certain things essential, quote unquote, whereas others not. They do not have that power, or they shouldn't. They do not have that ability nor that right to be able to dictate your life at all. But especially in this sense. But that's what's fucking happening. We have this thin-lipped cunt, and that's what she is, stood at her fucking podium every day, in and out, repeating the same shit that Boris Johnson repeats, the same shit that the bulk of Western leaders across the world at this point repeat. That she's no different. That people still think that she is some sort of demagogue, that she's an angel, that the sun shines at her arse. But the only thing that I ever see when I look at that boot standing at her podium is verbal diarrhea. Oh, we got more here. So you can attend a marriage ceremony or registration of a civil partnership. You're allowed to do that because that's been deemed essential. You know? To donate blood, oh, well, Clive knows. For activities in connection with moving home, including viewing a property. Oh, well, that's essential now. Okay. Oh, to avoid injury, illness, or to escape risk of harm. To register to or vote in a Scottish or UK Parliament. You know, oh, it's just great. So the virus knows this. Anyway, this video's probably getting too long. What are we on now? 12 minutes. Thin-lipped said... Wait, sorry. As a result, she said it was now imperative that everyone should comply. Always the words. You know, this repeat the same shit over and over again until it becomes true or until it gets drummed into your head, you know? That's comply. It's about behavioural change. Why else do you think that they're all partying and working with SAGE, which is about behavioural insights, etc.? Thin-Lipped said that we are now seeing a steeply rising trend of infections. And what does she mean by that? She means cases, which means more people are coming forward, you know? But if it wasn't these fucking testing centres, people would just assume, if there was no talk of a virus, people would just assume that they were coming down with something. Which is normal at this time of year. But you're telling them on a daily basis at your podium and every single newspaper verifying your bollocks as if it's gospel that there's a deadly fucking pandemic out there. So when people come down with the minusculest of symptoms, they decide to go to a testing centre. And it just so happens with their flimsy PCR test, if they've got even so much as a fucking cold, the likelihood of them testing positive for COVID-19, well, you know, cases speak for themselves, doesn't it? As a government, our clear duty right now is to act quickly and decisively to safeguard health, save lives and protect the NHS. This is the same shit that they were saying at the start of the year. The NHS was never overburdened. In fact, throughout the duration of the year, it's the quietest it's fucking ever been as far as I'm aware. This talk of saving lives, hilarious, because if we really want to go down that route, not that I believe the virus exists, Scotland had the third highest death rate in Europe. You know, at one point, I'm not sure if it's still the case now, save lives. People sadly die at winter due to pneumonia and the flu, etc. It cannot realistically be prevented completely. You could argue that flu vaccinations might stop people from dying of the flu, of course, but where's the talk of everybody getting a flu jab? It doesn't happen, but yet they want everyone to take this jab for a deadly virus that, even if it existed, is literally no worse than the flu. The advice of our clinical advisors is very clear that the increased transmissibility of the new variant means that the current level 4 measures may not be sufficient enough. Of course, because it's constant. This tier shit, bear in mind, it's indefinite, but that's not enough now. Oh, no, we need harsher rules. Because Clive's got an older brother who's bigger and badder than me now. It is essential that we further limit interaction between different households to stem the spread and bring the situation back under control, because there's so much proof out there to showcase that this shit works. Yeah. It doesn't, by the way. In short, we must return for a period to a situation much closer to the lockdown of last March. In the week from 23rd to 30th of December, the 7-day incidence of cases per 100,000 of the population increased by 65% from 136 to 225. Oh my god, people getting ill at winter, it's unbearable to think of. The new measures will make it a legal requirement to stay at home unless there was a reasonable excuse for leaving, such as essential shopping, education, childcare, or to support the vulnerable. I'll do as I please. And if the fucking police come to my door and try and find me, fine, I ain't paying it. I'll do the fuck I want. And that is the only way this shit will stop. If people stop buying into it. Thin Lips also told Parliament that from Friday, the 8th of January, a number of other measures will be taken, including closing places of worship, reducing numbers allowed at a wedding, ceremony, or civil partnership registration to the legal minimum, i.e. 5 plus the possibility of an interpreter. You know, it's 5, but, you know, if you need an interpreter, Clive knows this. These daft fucking rules, they're just daft. They don't make sense. Prohibiting wakes and post-funeral gatherings so that only funerals and any associated ceremonies, stone settings, ash scattering can take place. Closing some additional premises, including service providers and retailers. This would include a showroom element of larger retailers and ski centres. Ending the 1 metre physical distancing exemption for workplace canteens. Oh, that's great. These restrictions are expected to be in place for at least 4 weeks, but will be kept under review. You know, but she goes on, as I keep saying, she's talking about... Sorry, because again, this video's getting too long too. Here. Addressing the MSPs in the Scottish Parliament, Thin Lips said, there has been 2 significant game changers in our fight against this so-called deadly virus called Clive. One, the approval of vaccines is hugely positive and offers us the way out of this pandemic, quote unquote. Okay. But the other, the new faster spreading variant of the virus, is a massive blow. Possibly the most simple way of explaining the challenge we face right now is to compare it to a race. In one lane, we have vaccines. Our job is to make sure they run as fast as possible. That's why the government will be doing everything that we can to vaccinate people as quickly as possible. But in the other lane is the virus, which as a result of this new variant has just learned to run much faster and has most definitely picked up pace in the last couple of weeks. To ensure that this vaccine wins the race, it is essential to speed up the vaccination as far as possible. But to give it to the time it needs to get ahead, we must also slow the virus down. Of course, more disruption, more chaos, more tyranny to try their damnedest to convince people to take their fucking poison. Just saying. Peace.